Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and we're joined once again by Mark Gonzales over at First National Bullion, and we have a big one today because, I saw this postmark recently over on X, this account by the name of Spencer Hakimian. I guess a lot of people know who he is. He has a lot of viewership on X. He mentioned this. He posted this chart, which I found interesting. The dollar has lost 50% of its value versus gold in the past 3 years. 50%. Understand where we are. You now live in a third world country. When we're talking about the dollar, absolutely. When we're talking about, those that insure their wealth, that's a different thing. And just think about this for a second, everyone that's watching right now. Just consider the fact most people in 2020, when I made videos and when Mark talked about these things, said the same thing that they're saying now. Well, why would I want to get in? Everyone's been talking about gold forever. Everyone's been talking about silver forever. Those people that didn't get in at that time, they could have doubled their money in that time. And, in the face of a lot of the recent news, not just massive inflation and tariffs and all these other things, shortages of gold, we are seeing stories like this at a Reuters. Gold trades near record highs on U.S. rate cut bets, silver at 14-year high. People are betting on major rate cuts in September, leading to a parabolic move in both gold and silver, especially silver. Silver price tops $40 for the first time since 2011. Many would say, well, why would I want to get into anything when it's coming up on all-time highs? Well, you could have said the same a few months ago when it was at $32, $33. Well, it's hitting record highs after years and years of not hitting these numbers. Why would I get in now? It's because of what we're dealing with economically right now and the push for these rate cuts in September. This could be a big deal. We're going to dig into this and more today, my friends, and explain why this is so important and why this chart really tells us where things are going. But before we get into it, I urge people to check those links below. Check out firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. It is in the description. And there you can avoid the future CBDC Orwellian, dystopia that obviously none of us want to be involved in. You could go and buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. You could hold that gold in your hand, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system, and schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzales today, and a complimentary investors package that you get with that sign up. Of course, when you go to the comments of that form, you can let them know that you found them at World Alternative Media, or WAM, WAM. I think it's time that people take this seriously and make a move, but that's up to you, my friends. And as we were just going into, now we're talking about, looking at Australian dollars. If you're looking at the US dollar across the board, we've seen a major shift in obviously the collapse of the US dollar, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Of course, emerging economies are getting hit, some more than others. Others are actually doing quite well versus the US, which is also a telltale sign, and massive inflation across the board that people are dealing with while pretending that we're at 2%. As we've seen before, and we talked about with John Williams, Shadow Stats, he mentioned the fact that we are seeing closer to 10 to 11% inflation and 27% unemployment versus the official numbers in the employment rate, which one should actually be looking at the labor force participation rate. We're in rough times. We're looking forward at something, a big opportunity potentially. And I want to go into that with you, Mark. Can you dig into the idea here of, people value gold in dollars, but of course the reality is the dollar is dipping big time right now, and gold is making historic moves that we've never seen before, as is silver going into this potential rate cut. What do you think?
Well, the first thing that I want to reiterate with everybody out there is that the dollar is just the price point or the accounting measure of the actual physical metal of gold and silver. So a lot of people get confused when they're looking at dollar terms because they still see it as something that's relatively constant. So it's not that the gold price is necessarily going up. It's just the value of what prices it is going down. So you're going to need more of those items to price it. Now, when we're at the end of the road, such as we are now, a couple things to recap on. U.S. engaging now in 4-week notes to the tune of about $100 billion every 4 weeks, just to kind of keep the lights on. We've got yield curve controls that are being discussed, and we're talking about now on the table with the gold revision to kind of bring back in line in scope the GDP, debt to GDP. But Josh, you're right. So if you're looking at this through a lens of like a dollar aspect, you're not going to see the writing on the wall. You need to remove that, and you need to compare gold to actual other products to see what the true valuation of devaluation is out there and what gold has actually performed. So when you're seeing this chart saying that gold is outperformed or the dollar has declined 50% relative to gold, it's taking into consideration the devaluation of the dollar based upon the money printing, based upon the inflation, not the actual stated the inflation rate, the actual John Williams stated inflation rate, versus the actual monetary value of gold itself. And yes, if over the last 3 years, if you held gold, you would be 100% intact. Now,
let me just explain it really quickly for those that don't know. John Williams Shadow Stats is going over inflation judged by and calculated by the calculations that people used to use pre-1980s. And of course, during, I believe, the Paul Volcker economy at the Fed, we saw a major shift in how inflation was calculated. And now today, we are not seeing the real numbers. That's why when you see a number like 2%, and then you go to the store and you're paying twice, 3 times, 5 times as much for some things that you did a few years ago, the number doesn't add up. Well, when you look at what John Williams Shadow Stats does, he goes by the original form of calculation. And even that is not cutting it as close on. It depends on what you're talking about. I mean, if we amalgamate all these different things into the inflation rate, and obviously there's many things that are going up 500% in the past few years. But then there's things that are going up 1%, and then you create an average overall, then of course you're going to get a number that's still not quite as important as people need to understand. 10 and 11% is huge. However, if you look at multiple different kinds of foods, that of course you've witnessed meats and stuff like that at your local grocery store, the inflation rate just based on that alone is way higher. Of course, they also include in many cases technology into things, and technology is one of the only things that goes down generally in value. Again, we have the wrong idea of what inflation is, and when we judge it by like 2%, oh yeah, 2%, who is buying that? Who is buying that? And depending on the political party when Biden was in, everyone was going, yeah, the economy is great, when despite not seeing things with their own eyes at the grocery store and seeing what the prices were. Under Trump, they're doing the same thing. Like, hey, if you're on the Trump side of things, yeah, the economy is doing great. And then the other side says, no, it's doing bad. It's just is back and forth in the paradigm. Go to the store. You don't have to have a political inclination on this. Just look at the prices, and it's clearly more than 2%. It's a joke to call it 2%. Anyway, sorry, cut you off there, but go ahead. Go into this.
And to add to your point, one thing people may want to do is just stay vigilant and learn this stuff for yourself. Start saving your grocery sheets and just go back to them every 3, 4, 6 months, and highlight what you're paying for beef, what you're paying for eggs, and you're going to see it. I mean, okay, so since like 2021 to 2024, the cost of burger per pound went up about 27%. Well, since 2024 to where we are now, the price of burger on average is up about 22%. So we're starting to compound this stuff, but you're not going to realize it unless you actually pay attention, because life goes pretty quick. To the comment of I'm going to wait to buy because we're at all-time highs. Good point. All right. I had clients that brought this up, and people that I work with at 2,000, 2,200, 24, 25, 26, 3, 33, and now we're approaching 36. So when is it enough for you to realize that you're not going to be able to time these markets, that gold is the actual money? And the reason it's continuously growing outside of down days, it's not just going to go in a straight line, that this is the path we're on. It's going to continuously happen. So I bring this up like a broken record all the time. Let's beat a dead horse again. Look at Venezuela, 2017, 2018. Gold rose from about 11,000 Bolivar to about 17,000 Bolivar. And a lot of people said, hey, I don't want to buy it because it's too high. And a lot of people sold, right? Thinking I'm going to buy it back on the dip, because that is the complacency bias that we do one of these damn things. Well, you turned your back on it in another 6 months. Gold went up 25,000 times, and the cost of living in Venezuela went up 5,000x. So gold outperformed versus the devaluation. That is its sole purpose. Now, if we're losing 50% of the dollar base via gold, and the comment was, welcome to, what was it, third world? Yeah. You're there.
Yeah,
you are fucking there. It's just you're not realizing it, because you still have 6-lane highways. You can still go to Bed Bath & Beyond. You can still go to Rouse. You can still go to Kroger. You can still go get all this stuff that is very, very convenient. But to a point, it's just simply not going to be. So now you got gold breaking out over that pennant formation. You have silver now solidly above 40. The next stop is going to be 42. And could it go parabolic? It absolutely could. And when it breaks above 50, keep in mind the bandwidth of where silver can trade high or low before they turn off the computers for a temporary bit of time. That is $12. Okay, this happened back in 2015. A lot of crazy stuff happened back in 2015, right? The Chinese won. The Chinese became a marking valuation on the IMF SDR in 2015. We've got a lot of different changes, but one of the big things is now the bandwidth for silver is $12 high or low a day. Gold is $400. You are going to see this, and you might even see violent, like 5, 6, 7 down days. Stay vigilant. Hold your position. Do not break off more than you can comfortably in precious metals, but you need to start building a position and building a solid position, because as more people wake up, as we go into a Fed meeting with a quarter basis point reduction already baked into the cake, what happens if it's a half? What happens if it's 3/4? Look at what the added job number did this last week. Okay, so we were looking for like about 70 to 80,000 jobs entered. We got 22. But if you compare that to June, you had a $27,000 job add number to a negative, I think, 3,000. So we're moving in the wrong direction, and it's consistently happening week after week, day after day, month after month. We're on borrowed time. So again, I'm going to leave you with this, and I've said this numerous times: take control of your own universe. Right? Do the right thing for you, man, woman, doesn't matter. Take care of yourself and do it before life has a way of making the decision for you, right? You sit on your ass, you sit on your hands. I'm going to work out till tomorrow. Boom. Now your heart won't let you. All right. I'm going to sit on my hands because tomorrow I got a chance to buy gold and silver. What happened if we go parabolic? What if everybody goes in? What if your deliveries go to 2 to 3 to 6 months? And they can. What if your premium to get involved becomes 30, 40, 50% of that of the going spot rate, because no one has it available to offer, and no one wants to give it to you to offer? These are things I've experienced before. And if you weren't paying attention, if you were not in the market and you weren't aware, trust me, it will come again. So life is going to grab a hold of you and make that decision for you. Yeah. But right now you still have silver below its all-time highs. You got gold making all-time highs, but that's what a lot of people kept them out of the market at 28, 29, and 32. And look where we're at. So don't be complacent. Take control of your own life and your own universe, and get in touch with me. Let's have a conversation.
And can I just add that, when we see shortages off and on when it comes to gold, we're also seeing shortages of ammunition. We're also seeing shortages of food. Why is it that the things that we need the most end up in these shortages? Because, well, of course, it always comes down to people waiting until the last minute, and then something scary happens and they all jump in it at the same time. But when, it looks like all sunshine and rainbows and daisies, when, we're seeing gold hit new levels all the time, people aren't worried and they sit on their hands. So they don't do anything when it's easy to get, and they try to do everything when, like everyone else, at the same time when it's hard to get. And then you end up in a crisis and you don't get it when you need it. And of course, you mentioned before something that I kind of found funny, because, the third world idea, yeah, we are kind of living in that already. And you have the 4-lane highways. Though I will say, Bed Bath and Beyond, I think they've declared bankruptcy twice. I don't even know if they're still around, but because I remember seeing articles they made a South Park episode, like I think 15 years ago, on how dead Bed Bath and Beyond was. But I don't know. Well, we're still in the old recession; it's just papered over. So of course we're going to see a lot of that, and we're seeing a retail apocalypse right now. But I also want to mention that when we're heading into this new restructured economy, and of course we know that the European Union is releasing their CBDC next month. By the way, next month. Actually, they said by October at the latest, so it could happen this week. The point is, they already have their central bank digital currency in place. They know the crisis that's happening. They know that they need to pull the rug out eventually, and they need to make it seem like they have the solution. But they created the problem, and they're coming in with a solution that's called the Hegelian dialectic: problem, reaction, solution, repeat. It's an eternal thing that you never escape from if you just sit on your hands and wait to see what happens. Gold and silver are not, in my opinion, investments. In my opinion, they're wealth insurance. So when we see, Venezuela go up 25,000 times for the value of gold over that small period of time, I don't expect that to necessarily happen in a small period of time in the US. But if it went up 10 times, would you not be happier than losing 90% of your value? I mean, it just goes without saying, having that versus putting, paper money under your mattress. We're in very, very difficult times for the global economy. Even if everything that the United States was doing was right on the global stage, things are so bad that it's very difficult to see the economy surviving the shift from the West to the East, for example, and this move into a digital system, which, if the dollar was doing amazing in 5 years, you still don't really want to be all in that, because you're going to be holding a digital currency, that you're going to have digital IDs. They are releasing digital wallets in both, Democrat and Republican states, in both conservative and liberal places in Canada. Wherever you go, we're seeing this. So it's just all the more reason that people take the precaution today and not wait until, once again, there's lines out the banks. There will be bank runs eventually. They're totally bankrupt. Most of the banks have less than 1% cash to deposit ratio, and the FDIC does not properly insure any of that. They themselves are bankrupt, and they've acknowledged that in their own meetings. So again, then you have Basel III coming in, and they're talking about 63 central banks have applied this. This means they could just bail in your money, just take it out of your account, and it's gone. I mean, it's just so silly that people will still scoff at the idea of actually getting something that is meant as wealth insurance, that is allowing you to ensure that you and your family in 5 years isn't in their bread lines, having their ration food and on their digital IDs and with their digital wallets, using their digital currency in your 15-minute city. I think it's pretty important that people take action now. So again, we have that link in the description, and I'm going to bring it up on the screen once more here. And of course, I urge people you have to use the exact link. So that is firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/ has to be that. There you could buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. Hold that gold or silver in your hand, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA, like I said, outside of that traditional IRA system that a lot of people are in right now. Of course, schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark and a complimentary investors package. That is all in the description of the video. Just let them know, as I said, in the comments of the forum when you sign up, that you found them at World Alternative Media, or WHAM. And of course, just get prepared today. Don't sit on your hands. Don't say, I'll wait to see what happens. This stuff's happening now and will continue to happen, even if we saw a 20% loss in value over a period of time. We know what the long term is: 5 years, 10 years out, 20 years out versus the dollar. So let's be real about it. Get into this today. Again, not investment advice. Do your own due diligence, as I have to legally say. But I think we all know, when we see water falling from the sky, it usually means it's raining, and I'm just pointing it out. So everyone else can do that themselves, can look into that themselves. And of course, get a hold of Mark, who of course is very awake about a lot of things and is very insightful on these issues, and is able to give you a good deep dive into whatever you are concerned about when it comes to your finances going forward, when it comes to moving into something like gold or silver. So make sure to check that out. Again, thank you for joining us as always, Mark. And we'll be back with much more. I am heading to Canada tomorrow as I say this. So this video, I bear with me. There won't be a lot of content going up this week, but I'm doing my best. Imagine this actually fits into the video quite well. I got one of my bank accounts isn't working and is shut down. And instead of the convenience that they claim, where you could call them on the phone and say, hey, can I use my bank? They say, no, come to the desk in Canada. And I live in Mexico. So that's an issue. Another example of why we shouldn't be dependent in any way, shape, or form on banks and move out of that system. Just one point to put in there before I go, and you might not see me for a couple days. But anyway, appreciate it, Mark. And we'll be back with much more. This is Josh Sigurdson and Mark Gonzales signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.